Coming back to you today with more thoughts on 1 D&D. Welcome back, everybody. Glad you could be here with us. Those of you who've been here before and all you new folks out there. Today, this is going to be a follow-up video to the video where you saw myself and Chad talking about 1 D&D, where Brad is going to share his thoughts on the matter here. And he's back with us. And if you haven't watched that video, check it out. There'll be a link somewhere up in this general area. And there are two little clarifications I just want to make real quick from the first video. I did actually watch the other presentation finally. So yes, they did specifically call out that villains do not get critical hits. I believe I shared an opinion in the last video on where I stand on that. I don't like it, in brief. And the other is that I did double check, and yes, in fact, you can distribute your stats 3 plus 1s should you so desire. It is right there in the testing document. So, having said that, gotten that out of the way, Brad?
So let's just start with the villains not having the critical hits. I totally understand that. I do understand their position of the villains already having what is it, regeneration?
It's their not respawning, but that's essentially what it is. They're
right.
recharging.
Recharging.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I get that in that, and I also understand that this is a play test, and Jeremy Crawford went into great detail about how none of this is set in stone, and this could all change, and that's why we're doing this. These are all thoughts that they had, that they thought would make the game better, but as is oftentimes the case with everything, oftentimes things are better in theory than they are in practical application. Hence the play testing to find out if that does right. That does work out right. So, but in general, maybe it's just because I'm not a game master yet, why I don't see the problem. I understand that the critical hits are not the same as recharging or whatever, but I don't find that as big of a problem.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I personally don't care for it. Now, the general idea, though, the issue I think is, and this is really only at low levels unless you've really unbalanced the encounter.
Right.
Is that at low levels, yes, a critical can just kill a character.
Right.
And to me, the solution to that is, that's why you have that lovely Dungeon Master screen. You're like, oh man, 19 close. I still hit you, but
sure.
Man, I almost killed you.
Sure.
Fudge it for the first couple levels, and then everything should work out just fine.
So it's kind of that way with everything, though, isn't it? I mean, don't they encourage that and design things for that, for the game masters to use their discretion on such things?
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I get that, and I totally understand your viewpoint, just from my perspective. It's not that I'm for this new way. I just don't care.
Yeah, I mean, to me, my bigger issue with it is the 1s and 20s on everything, and not just what it's presently on. But
right.
The villain thing, I can take it or leave it. I don't care for it, but it's not going to be a game breaker. No pun intended. Mm-hmm. So what else you got?
Well, there's some things. So first of all, in the last video, there was a viewer or two who commented on the video that we had misstated some things.
The toughness feat.
Toughness feat, yeah. Right, and then there was another one too. But regardless,
I was going to say, for what it's worth, I think the other comment was someone was commenting on Chad's comments on Lucky. It wasn't so much that he was getting it wrong, just that he believed that its current incarnation is broken, and the better one, is the one they're doing. And I agree with him, which is why the
him Chad or
the comment.
Yeah, I agree with the comment.
Which is why the current version is the more appealing version, because it is
to Chad, because he likes to play halflings and get all that right.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that was a necessary nerf. Necessary, I don't know. It's I'm okay with that nerf, more so than the critical hits for the monsters. That I simply don't care about one way or another. I am for this nerf on Lucky because it was broken. I mean, I didn't take it once specifically because I could see myself just abusing the heck out of it.
Yeah, I personally haven't had to deal with it in a game, so until Chad explained it to me like that, I didn't realize the potential behind it.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, like that's one of those drawbacks of I DM, but I haven't gone through every single feat with a fine tooth comb to make sure it all looks okay. I'm just kind of, I know 2 of our players. I doubt I'm going to see any broken combinations from them anytime soon, and Chad knows that I,
We'll smack it down.
will not will not appreciate it if things go off the rails. But yeah, so like I said, I hadn't personally noticed it until Chad. That's why I was kind of surprised in the video. So yeah.
Let's see. I liked the change from Asimir to Ardling. And I know it's not, in a general way, not a lot different. I know that some of the mechanics are different in the 3 different places your spells can come from, and the way they did the Tiefling. But I like that it mirrors the Tiefling. I think that those 2 things play well together like that. And I like that that Ardling went that way from Asimir.
Well, I know this is just conjecture I see online, but I'm given to understand that it's not so much that they've replaced Asimir, like that they're still going to be around, because they are still in 5th edition.
Right, it's just not a playable race now, right?
Well, no, it still will be if it's all backwards compatible.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, I understand.
It's just that it might not necessarily be in whatever iteration of the player's handbook comes next. Is what
Okay, that's what I meant. All right, okay.
But yes, like for what they do, that they are essentially a replacement of swords. It's just that the other option will theoretically still be there.
And again, back to Dungeon Master's discretion. I mean, there's no reason, even if they said, hey, we're done with Asimir, unless you're playing an League of Legends thing, then you can play an Asimir if your game master's down with them. I mean, right? That doesn't change anything.
Well, I have a theory that Wizards of the Coast is going to, at some point, certain things are going to be, well, no one really uses this anymore, so it's not going to be on D&D Beyond anymore.
I can see that happening, for sure.
I definitely think that's going to happen for various reasons. So in that scenario, it'll be one of those, well, I mean, if you've got the book, you can use it, I guess, kind of thing. But I mean, I could be wrong. I think that the temptation will be there for them.
Oh, I think certainly things like that will happen.
Yeah.
I don't know of the Asimir specifically, but I think things like that will happen for sure.
Yeah.
Just from a purely business.
Well,
model.
that it's real easy to claim you're 100% backwards compatible if there's no evidence that you're not.
Right.
So
I get it. Totally get it.
And not saying that they're nefarious or anything. It's just like, I mean, if you have the power to do that, it's like we film these videos. I edit the videos. I have the ability to do that, so of course I'm going to exercise it. It's not necessarily anything nefarious or anything on Wizards' part. So,
Necessarily.
I mean, could be. Don't know. I don't know their alignment.
I'm going to go with chaotic good, just because I want to believe that.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a capitalist company.
Yes.
I'm veering towards neutral.
Fair. Chaotic neutral?
Maybe.
Yeah, that's fair. What else? I really like that they've taken some of the attributes away from racial and put into backstory. Simply because that makes a lot more sense to me. You're not going to be less intelligent because you were born one race or another in this world. But you could be more intelligent if your background sent you through training of some sort, schooling or whatever. So I like that.
I understand the logic behind it. As I said in the other video, I'm not the biggest fan, but because I'm more of a fan of, I want there to be choices that have consequences, and I'd rather I don't want the game to ever get to the point where it's just, here's my stats, here's the skin I'm throwing on my character, it's a this thing, like this thing should matter somehow, and with the blandness of, like, I think only 2 of the races don't have dark vision now, for instance, and things like that. Like that's where it's going.
I was going to say that's one of the things I didn't like was, I mean, I really liked that, you know, you had to be a drow or a gnome or whatever to have that was a thing. You know, that was a perk to pick that race. So I agree there. And I agree with the blandness in general. Although I kind of look at that as, and I'm not saying I like this, but I understand it from a business perspective. If you're trying to grow even more than they have in the last 5 years or whatever, it's kind of like having a restaurant and you have a buffet. You can't season everything the way that you would eat it because there's going to be people there that can't have salt or whatever. So you give them to them bland, and then you let them flavor it at the table. I don't think that's much different here. But I do understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree necessarily. But I do think that there are still, as of now, of course, you know, they keep evolving towards the blandness, and that's an issue. But as they stand now, or with the new playtest rules, I don't. I'm willing to overlook the more races have dark vision for the, I think, more realistic approach of your background influencing who you are as a burgeoning adventurer more than your race. I do want there to, you know, I want, you know, half orcs and orcs to have orcish and dirge or whatever. I don't want everybody to have that. So there should definitely be things that are specific to race, but I don't have a problem with these as they stand.
Okay.
What else? I like the fact that they are providing backgrounds to use if you want, or you can use those rules to create your own background.
Yeah, the default is actually the create your own.
Right.
So
Right. What else?
I was gonna say, for whatever it's worth, despite what I literally just said, I actually don't have a problem with that, because it seemed like for 5th, it was people were choosing a background to sync up with what they wanted to do character-wise, but not necessarily story-wise. So the create your own background, I'm fine with that, you know, because not every background is going to fit, you know, not every square pegs, you know, round holes, you know, it's not all going to work out. You know, it's easier, you know, to come to me and say, hey, you know, as a dungeon master, to come to me and be like, hey, you know, my guy's done this, ergo, I have these things. To me, that works. You know, as long as everyone's playing by the same formula, you know, I'm cool with that.
So that's it for me. So long as I know the rules going in and everybody's playing by the same rules, I can work with about anything. Of course, there's things that I like more than others, but yeah. It's another thing that you guys mentioned that.
No, I don't know. That's a long meandering video.
The deal where it used to be half orc, half elf, and that was about it. And now you can be half anything. I don't know if this mechanic is correct for that, and I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying I don't know. I haven't, you know, gone through the permutations. But I do know that before this, I did wish there was a way to play more interracial species.
Oh, they had a solution for that in 3.5. There's literally an entire book about it.
I have no doubt.
And that's part of my ongoing issue with 5th edition is the incredibly low amount of content versus previous editions, which I get, you know, because they ran into the problem of flooding the market with content, and they don't want to scare people away. But at the same time, like, there's a whole lot of winging it going on, and I mean, apparently that's popular. I don't know.
I think that is popular. I think that they're not going to do anything that is going to even slow down this growth, that they feel is going to do it. You know what I mean?
My absolute personal opinion based on Wizards of the Coast of old, which, by the way, fair warning, it's going to torpedo any hope of any kind of Wizards of the Coast sponsorship, but here we go.
Well, I don't know if we should do it then.
I think Wizards of the Coast only halfway knows anything of what they're doing at the moment. I think they lucked into it essentially through things like Critical Role.
Sure.
And thus far, their whole approach has been don't rock the boat.
Right.
And they're somewhat lacking in any kind of cohesive vision going forward.
Well, I think that's what this is. I think their vision going forward is...
Yeah, to me, this is more don't rock the boat.
Well, it's for sure. It's for sure don't rock the boat. And I don't blame them. I'm not saying that I like that, but I don't blame them a bit.
I'm not saying they should take wild chances or anything. I'm just saying, looking at past editions and, knowing what was popular there's a distinct lack of lore, period.
Oh, for sure.
Like the campaign settings of the Forgotten Realms, but damn near everything is just the Sword Coast. Like, there's literally the whole rest of that continent, plus other continents. Eberron got one book. Ravenloft got a book, and Strahd got a book, and I think another book, and they just focus on hyper focus on what kind of works, to the detriment of everything else.
Well, right, and I totally get that, but here I think you got to look at it like this. You said that was popular in past editions. That was popular with the hardcore core of your D&D community. The
Yeah.
people that's been here, the people that relish in the math and the intricacy and the everything. And that's great. I mean, that's where you saw my first backstory, 78 pages long,
Yeah.
So obviously I'm all about that, but you're right. I think they lucked into the growth. I mean, obviously they had plans set forward to grow, but there's no way they could have imagined the popularity and the rush, or Critical Role, as well as other streaming.
Yeah, there's other parts. It's just Critical Role's
they're the big dog right now. Nobody's going to argue with that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's something that was building culturally for a while with references in The Big Bang Theory. You got Stranger Things. There's several pieces all fell together at just the right moment.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think you're right. I think they weren't prepared for that, and they've been playing catch up ever since. So I think probably for the last 2 years they've been deciding how to move forward. Are we going to do 5.5? Are we going to do 6? And I think they chose not rocking the boat. I think you're exactly right. And then the business model they've chosen to move forward allows them to evolve without tearing it down and building it up again. And whether that's right or wrong, I don't know, but I think it's obvious that's what they've done.
Yeah, it's what they've done. I just I just view it as more wishy-washy baloney. The whole this isn't a new edition. Yes, maybe not what we're seeing, but
that's what's going to evolve.
But it will eventually be, and there will eventually be a point in time where we can say this is no longer 5th edition, and they'll sit there and they'll try to equip it. They did this with 5th edition. They tried to call it D&D Next and other things, and they tried to avoid this there, and eventually everyone's like, guys, this is 5th edition.
So first of all, I know that they have a lot of the same people around, but it's and I don't know about their structure and hierarchy, but how many new people are at the top making decisions now? You know what I mean? Any?
Not as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. So that's fair.
But that's as far as I'm aware. I don't. Just every time I see these videos, these names all look very familiar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know Jeremy Crawford, Chris Perkins. Those are the ones I'm talking about being there. But those are the game designers. But I don't know if they're the ones making the decisions necessarily. I think they're in on the conversations, but I don't know if they're making business decisions.
Well, business decisions are mostly being made by whoever's in charge over Casper.
That's my point. So I'm not sure that those decisions are being made by the same people they were 8 years ago or whatever.
Okay.
And so you're going to get different types of decisions made. But yeah, whatever. I understand how the old school hardcore, I'm good at this, I'm better than you at this, because of how much time I've spent learning this intricate system and am able to navigate it during gameplay, whether it be from behind the DM screen or on the other side of the table. But there's still, we live in a capitalist society, so they're going to follow the money. And if the money is watering it down a little bit for the masses, then that's what they're going to do. And I can like or not like that, but I find it better just to get on board and run and try to make it the best as possible rather than screaming into the storm,
Well, yeah, screaming in the storm ain't going to accomplish anything.
Right. I mean, we can sit here and talk about what we like and don't like, and they have asked for our input, which we'll gladly give, and I'm numerous of you out there in D&D world will.
Yes, quick reminder on that. The survey is now open, so fill it out.
I do.
Preferably with something resembling an educated opinion on the matter.
Right.
Don't just throw something out
I
there.
do encourage you to not just study the new rules or the whatever the new playtest material that came out, but play it. I mean, I clicked on the survey and started reading the questions, and I found myself not prepared to answer the questions because I don't know how I'm going to feel when I actually play them. Like, how am I going to comment on the new rules for where spells come from if I don't play a spellcaster first? I can tell you what I think will happen when that happens, but again, theory, practical application. Yeah.
Because about the only thing I can think of that we haven't covered was, and this is just purely a math thing, is the critical hits only doubling the weapon damage and not everything else.
Okay, yep, that was it. I actually like that too. I totally understand their perspective on this. They want to separate out casters and melee combatants even more. And I understand the thought process behind it. I'm not married to it. If they take it away, I don't care. But I like it. I like the fact that they're trying to. If you have the choice to play partial casters, rangers, paladins.
Yeah, the prevailing term is half caster, but yeah.
Fair enough. There we go.
Or at least where I read, that is. You folks may know something else. I don't know.
Yeah, post it in the comments. Yeah, so you have the ability to play a half caster. Not that would matter when you're slinging a spell and get a critical on it, but I don't mind the separation, the trying to make them uniquely their own thing.
Oh, well, actually, I meant more. That's going to impact the martial characters too.
How so?
Well, say you're a rogue.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, if you get a critical hit, it also doubles the sneak attack dice. It won't. with
Oh,
this.
well, right. So, that's completely separate from what I was talking about with the separating the spellcaster from the thing, obviously. That does absolutely take away some of the allure of the rogue. I mean, if you're going to play a rogue, it's all about the sneak attack, right?
I mean, yeah, that seems to be why everyone plays that.
I mean,
forget the thieving and everything else. It does seem to be the
right. I mean,
the damage dealing potential.
Any class can take proficiencies in thieves' tools and bump your dexterity and make it so that you can pick locks and find traps.
Because I know the cool guild hand can't.
Right. Do they have that? Didn't they change that too? And that just now sign on?
Oh, God knows, probably.
I think they changed that too. Well, maybe it's not that thieves' cant is gone, but now there's a universal common sign language as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you exist in a world where there is somehow a common language that everyone speaks, and you have at least 2 known sign languages, it would stand to reason that there is a common sign language as well.
Right.
So
I do understand that does take away from some of the allure of the rogue. I mean, obviously, I don't just play characters, I guess characters so far in this 5e, with this coming back to it after decades. But I've built hundreds of characters on D&D Beyond. And when I build them, I'm not building them because I don't start out picking the class because of necessarily what they're going to be able to do. I pick it for the flavor, you know what I mean? And then I decide what I can do with it. And part of the reason I made characters is so that if I have to replace the ranger that I'm playing right now. He's a hillbilly ranger, by the way. He's a Drake Warden, and his dragon's name is Early. That's true.
very true.
Yeah. So I've made the character so that if anything happens to my ranger, or I get asked to sit in on another game, or there's a one-shot or something, that I will have characters already prepared to fit in whatever hole I feel is missing. I like to be that utility player, not utility in the Dungeons and Dragons sense. I mean utility like a utility infielder in baseball that could, foreseeably start per se at any position in the infield. But the value to the team and to the manager is that player's ability to play wherever needed on any given day. So I like to play that role within a D&D party. I like everybody else to pick what they want first, because, let's say you're all about slinging spells, you're a wizard. That's what Dungeons and Dragons is to you, is trying to stay alive long enough to get powerful. Or you are just all about swinging the biggest sword you can muster and lopping people's heads off. Great. I will find whatever hole there is in the party and I will try to fill it. But as I'm building those characters, I start out with an idea of what flavor I want the character to have, and then I let that inform each consecutive decision, which just builds and informs decisions as you move along.
Yeah.
And then
instead of starting at the how many dice can I roll for damage, for instance.
how many dice, or what die do I roll for my hit points? That kind of thing. I mean, I am not a min-maxer. Don't have any problem with min-maxers. Like to have one or two of them in my party. We're going to lump people apart. But I'm all about the story. I'm all about the narrative. I'm all about the flavor. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Well, as the DM, I'm perfectly fine with the players being knocked down a peg, because this edition has been all about the
Right.
opposite of that happening.
Right.
So if they do a little less on a critical, okay, I'm fine with that.
And that's I think that the loss that the rogues get from that, and I'm sure there's other things as well, but that small loss, it's not a small loss of that rogue, but in the grand scheme of things, that small loss is more than made up for by the flavor that it gives everything else.
Yeah, and there's also, since this is playtest material, there is the distinct possibility that the rogue winds up with a unique ability to get around that, or there's a weapon that gets around it, or there could be any number of things that could change that, because we only have, it's like a 20-page document, right?
Right.
So,
and it's just one small part of the playtest material, right? They're going to put it out in waves. Yeah. So, right, exactly. And that's still, it all falls back to your game master. If you love playing rogues and your game master's down with it, keep doing that. The rules are the rules in League of Legends, or what is it? Adventure League.
There's no rule zero there.
So, here in your home games, do what thou wilt.
Although I do want to comment real quick on the first part of what you said, as far as the arcane and spells. A lot of people didn't even know that they caused criticals.
Right.
Because so few spells actually involve an attack roll. And if I recall correctly, the rules are actually somewhat ambiguous on the matter.
There is. They are. And I hadn't noticed that before, actually, but it had never come up to me.
Right.
Because even the spares that I have for my ranger really aren't attack spells.
Yeah, so few spells even involve attack rolls. They're almost all their saves, typically.
And I believe he addressed that in that video, did he not, Jeremy Crawford, by saying we get all kinds of questions about whether or not.
Yeah, he did mention it.
So he said that most people aren't playing that way anyway, so let's just do this.
So,
and see
so
what's
that
up.
so that's no real loss, except for you folks that were playing it that way.
But again, you do
I'll pour one out for you later.
You don't drink.
Drink water, and tea.
No, that's fair.
I mean,
I'm not saying you don't drink. I know you will have a drink or whatever, but
occasionally.
I just had a brain flash of you tilting a paper bag with a 40 in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go get a King Cobra, Colt 45.
Colt 45.
Yeah.
You are, yeah. So what else about the one D&D?
I mean, I think that about covers everything on the playtest part.
I do want to say that I am very looking forward to delving into some of the new race class stuff, whatever the stuff is going on. I really don't know how we're going to go about it. We've actually, our home game has been on hiatus for a while. We're fixing to start that back up again, but I don't really, this would have to be separate from that.
Yeah. The other thing, if you got any kind of comments into the upcoming products, because that was the other, kind of half of the big thing that they announced.
I really don't. I just totally, what am I, my COVID brain, I can't think of the words I want. I totally just follow your lead on products because you're into that, you know what I mean? And you collect the things, you know about the things, you're on message boards about things, and like I said, I'm here for the stories. So you bring me the tools and I'll work with them.
Well, there you go. All right. So I think that about wraps it up.
Well, yes, but I would like to say that just in general, I like, we've talked about some of the limiting factors on this one D&D as opposed to just going 5.5 or whatever, but in theory, I like what's happening here. I don't personally mind the intricacies and the things that would make it harder for the masses to digest, but I do understand their point and the vanilla-ing. I hope they don't take it too far. Hope they have a good feel for where the line is. And I also, in addition to trying this new playtest rules ourselves, I am very looking forward to hearing what other people think. All the way from the old school purists who are going to hate this because it makes it easier for people who aren't going to study and put in the time and work as hard for the knowledge and skills as they have, all the way to the new people who are just starting, who are like, well, this seems a lot easier than I heard it was. And I want to hear all of that and everything. But in general, I don't know that I'm a fan of trying this rather than going 5.5 or whatever. But that's from perspective of, I didn't go from 3 to 3.5 or any of the other iterations. So I don't know how that transition happened.
Well,
that seems more abrupt to me.
Oh no, I'll show you some of the books to show you the differences. There's a few mechanical differences, but there's not like a titanic gap between them. It is very
So
like,
it's-
like third to fourth. That's the you wake up one day and the automobile exists after you've ridden a horse your whole life. Like that's what third to fourth was.
Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. I don't want that. I like 5. Of course, I didn't play any of the other ones. I mean, I played Advanced Dungeons and Dragons back in the 80s, but not even as deeply as into it as I am now. So, but I don't think that I would like to put my horse in the stable one night and wake up driving a Model T the next day. I don't.
Yeah, most people didn't.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people jumped ship and went to Pathfinder, because Pathfinder's like, hey, you remember 3.5? They gave you love 10 minutes ago. We made a few twerks, but here it is. And you know you can trust us because we were the ones publishing Dungeon and Dragon magazines for the last some number of years and making adventures. And
Well,
Yeah.
I've heard good things about Pathfinder.
and then 4th edition was like, come on, guys, come over here. 4th edition also had a
We
digital
all-
initiative, by the way, which
We
is
all
why
float over here.
that's why I'm lukewarm on some of
Oh,
this.
that's something else I want. That's the other thing I want to talk about.
Digital tabletop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, totally forgot like a major part of the announcement.
Yeah. So, I have been intrigued by the virtual tabletop, for a long time, because there was a time shortly after our game started that I thought that I might not be around here to play in person, and subsequently would have had to do something like that if I wanted to stay in this game. Also, I had COVID and was quarantined for a long time because my symptoms never went away. I still have some symptoms cognitively, but I had congestion. I had symptoms for a long time. So I was quarantined for a long time, missing some games before we had taken the hiatus. And I was down to do that then, except I wasn't even trying to do virtual tabletop. I was just going to basically Zoom play.
Yeah.
And the rest of our group pushed back against that, which is fine. I'm but one member of the group, and so I'm all about democracy.
For the record, Brad, and for those group members watching, like, sorry, totally about to throw you all under the bus here.
I didn't mean it that way.
I kept proposing that, knowing that that kind of thing could happen, I kept saying, hey, we should try this for when we need to do this, and like it just kind of never materialized.
Yeah, I remember those conversations we had. I know.
So, at least one member of the team was like I wasn't looking forward to it, but
Right.
I understood it was a possibility.
Right. And obviously it's not optimal. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
you would prefer to have your friends around a table rolling dice and screaming and yelling and being right there in the thick of things. But sometimes that's just not how it can happen. I mean, we just saw how the government locked us down for a while, and people weren't going about and doing things, and that could happen again.
That is in fact still happening in some places.
Sure. And not only that, but there's people that I'm close to all over the country, and if they wanted to start up a game, I have cousins in Alaska, I have friends in California. If we all wanted to play a game together, the only way to do that would be the antiquated Zoom system or on a virtual tabletop.
Yes. The U.S. is a very large place. We're not like, say, Luxembourg or something.
Right, exactly. I mean, even I know people in Bloomington that play regularly. I wouldn't want to drive an hour to play, I mean, I would, but I wouldn't like it.
No.
So, and obviously people that are states apart, there's no way. So I like the virtual tabletop. I've never tried Roll20. That's it, right?
Yeah, it's Roll20 and virtual. I think it's Roll20 and virtual tabletop.
The VTT, right? Is the VTT is the one that they were talking about in one D&D video. Yeah.
Well, there is a currently existing
Oh.
virtual. I think its initials are VTT. It's
I see.
virtual tabletop.
I see. All right.
So they're creating a virtual tabletop. Kind of like kind of like a Band-Aid.
Mhm.
Band-Aid's actually the brand name. It's really adhesive strip.
Right.
You know.
Kleenex, Coke.
Yeah.
Right. So,
If I understand it correctly, I don't use any of them. So
well, I haven't used any of them either.
the virtual tabletop stuff I do during COVID. Use Band-Aids.
So I understand that there's the Roll20 and the VTT. I've never used those. The one that they were showing on that video looked amazing. The one thing that I do worry about that is that it starts looking too much like a video game.
Well, I think that's why they're deliberately going
Minis.
using the minis,
Right, right.
which yeah, I think that's a great idea because otherwise, you know, yeah, it doesn't look like a video game. At which point it's like, well, my friends are nice, but like,
Why wouldn't I just play the
this
video
video game has a pretty well written storyline over here. My friend's campaign.
Yeah, so, like I said, I've never played the Roll20 or the VTT, so I've only seen like pictures and or short videos of short clips of the function of it and what it looks like and everything. And I don't think I have seen the VTT at all. But I would totally use that 100%. But I do think visually what they showed on the video was more appealing.
Yeah.
So long as they don't let it get video gamey.
Yeah. And to be clear on that and the other topics, I know I sound like a Debbie Downer on all this. I am cautiously optimistic. I will test out the stuff, you know.
That is factually accurate.
You know.
He's not a Debbie Downer. He just oftentimes tries to downplay his enthusiasm.
Well, this is more a matter of I've been a few rounds with Wizards of the Coast before, and I have what I believe are compelling reasons to be skeptical, but you know,
Skepticism's fun. But I am a big fan of in 99% of the interactions in the world, I think cautious optimism is the way to go.
so I think that probably about does
I
it.
think so. I can't. I made notes and put them on my phone
Oh,
that we're recording with.
Yeah, that would be an issue.
Yeah, I'm a genius like that.
Alrighty, well, folks, hopefully you enjoyed that. Give you some food for thought on hopefully forming some of your own opinions on the test material. Like we said, the survey's out now. You know, try to actually test it if you can before you fill it out. Even if you're going in saying, "Man, I hate this," like at least have an informed opinion of what you don't like.
Right.
You know, so because I believe they will take that more seriously. I mean,
Right. It's
I,
much.
I personally speculated and seen speculation that this is a test in name only, but we'll see.
See, there's your skepticism.
That's a matter of the timetable.
Exactly.
I don't think there's time to change much, given when they said this is supposed to come
I
out.
understand.
But again, I'm open to being mistaken, and you know we'll see. So that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. That's just my personal opinion. I'm still going to fill it out because I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Even if he's right in that when things come out, they haven't had time to run through all the playtest material, the surveys, make those changes before printing or coming online or whatever. Even if that is the case, this new business model allows for that evolution as it moves along. So I would say that regardless of whether or not our collective suggestions or thoughts on the playtest are able to be integrated into the first iteration of when D&D is released. And what they say, 2023?
2024.
Yeah. So even if there's not time to make the changes into that, it behooves them to, if there's a 50-50 feedback on we like this, we don't like this, then it's hard for them to say definitively one way or another,
Right.
and just leave it how it is. But if it's 80-20,
Yeah.
then it behooves them to make that change, be it now or later.
Yeah. So, yes, like Brad spelled out, even if it doesn't change now, it could be enough that it gives them something to think about going forward. You know, like so they could take the feedback and they can see that, well, a lot of people wanted this, but it just simply doesn't work, and now they don't like it. You know, these things happen. You know, ask the fine folks at Coke how new Coke worked out for them.
No, that's awesome.
Or Coke too.
And if it was me, I don't want to say they're going to, but if it was me and I was asking for your opinion, I would put a lot more value in your opinion if rather than say, I read your materials and I think this, as opposed to, hey, we played this and we think this.
Yeah. So, anyway, some stuff for everyone to think about there. And,
Oh, wait. I'm kidding. We've done that 3 or 4 times. Sorry.
you got me on that one.
Yeah, that's all that is.
That's good. That's good.
And scene.
So, hopefully you guys like what you watched. If you did, you know, this is YouTube. Here comes the sales pitch. You know, hit the like, subscribe, share it out.
Most importantly, comments.
Yes.
Not just because of the algorithm, which algorithm me please. By the way, we're showing some what I think is astounding growth already. I mean, maybe not when you consider people have millions of subscribers and multiple millions of views on a video, but I looked right before I came here today, and one of our videos now has over 2,000 views. That may not seem like anything to y'all, but we don't have 2,000 friends.
No, I don't know 2,000 people.
So that means that at least some of our videos are getting out there to people. And so we hope to continue that. So algorithms.
Yeah, so like Brad said, comments, in particular, related to that, please comment like what you've seen thus far that you like, what you've seen thus far that could use work and you would like, what you don't like, because
Not just about the one D&D.
yeah, not just about this,
about us and what we're
about,
doing
you
here.
know, the format, the video topics, because like Brad mentioned, we have the one video that just took off, and it's about a topic we haven't covered in a ton of videos. Most of ours have been leaning towards like the D&D kind of stuff, and this was a BattleTech video. And so, like, if you're here just for the BattleTech stuff, let us know. If you're here for the D&D stuff, let us know. If you're here for everything, let us know.
Because we're kind of everything kind of group.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably still going to keep making everything because, you know, part of this is a passion project. You know, we're making these things because we like these things.
But we also want to give you what you want.
Right. So if there's like a definitive, like, you know, if 90% of the subscribers are like, hey, we want this, that's going to get more attention. So, anyway.